Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Megajohn, and today we're going to be continuing our deep dive into the Stealth Training Arenas program. This time we're going to cover Stealth Mission 3, its alternative version, and any Easter eggs and references associated with it. This video will spoil the challenges in said mission, so don't watch this if you want to experience the game for yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. Stealth Mission 3 is simultaneously more straightforward, but paradoxically, less so than Mission 2. By that I mean the path to victory is essentially a straight line all the way to the end. The way it's not as direct is that the more natural setting doesn't make the way to go immediately recognizable to some. This mission is about being aware of your surroundings to both avoid the things that'll kill you, and to figure out which way to go. Note that I said things, and not just people. We'll get into that later. M3G4 told us we need to escape the forest with the USB containing enemy intel. But he, as well as these enemy radios, reinforce that they know we're here somewhere. But like I said in my Mission 2 video, the enemy will gradually get tougher. Their sightlines are the same as before, but you just can't see them this time. So with Stealth Mission 2, I hope people have become familiar with the extent of their eyesight. As far as I know, there's 3 ways out of this ruined structure. The toughest way is through this small area near the start. You can platform off these rocks, but it's so absurdly difficult compared to the other ways to progress, there's really no reason to take this route. A simpler way to go would be to walk along the wall of this ruined building and to jump at just the right angle up to the ledge. But you run the risk of being seen by the guard. The intended and easiest way out of this section is to climb the vines. Coming up to the top leaves you in a safe spot, though the non-observant player may miss this entirely. So it's always good to experiment with ideas and see what you can do with your surroundings. Moving on, you can simply snake around these guards since their vision is so limited in scope. Sentinels, scouts, and patrollers can see up to 17 studs, Roblox's internal unit of measurement. Given the range of their horizontal vision and rounding to the nearest 100th decimal place, those 3 enemy types have about a 40-degree field of view, 38.88 degrees to be a little bit more exact. In other words, they got some serious tunnel vision, but still something to be cautious of if you aren't used to the limits of their eyesight. Bearing that in mind, keeping your distance and running around them isn't terribly difficult. The sentinel hiding behind that rock might catch you off guard, however, but just like how the enemy uses the environment to their advantage, so can you. If it isn't with climbable vines, then it's with conveniently placed terrain. Using that same rock, you can just jump over the sentinel and over to the other side. After that, you'll come up to a rope bridge suspended over rushing rapids. The bridge itself is really easy to just run across. You'd honestly have to jump into the rapids on purpose to fall. Being carried away by the current leads you right to a couple of guards that'll spot you and kill you. But if you somehow end up down here, you might be able to save yourself by holding the jump button and using footholds near the end to hop back up. It's tricky, but doable. After crossing the rapids, you may encounter another radio advising the soldiers to set traps to try and get you. This mission is meant to teach you that the environment can be as much of a hazard as the soldiers themselves. There are 3 kinds of traps in this mission. First one that most people overlook is actually very close to the radio. A dummy guard meant to make you avoid the area. But if you look closely at the finer details, the scarecrow-like face, lack of name, weapon, different textures, and the torso and limbs not having rounded edges gives it away. Another trap in the area are spike traps hiding under a covering of leaves that'll instantly kill you upon contact. So in addition to soldiers, you'll have these to worry about. But once you spot them, they aren't too troublesome to avoid. You can maneuver between the spikes and the guard to get through, or take the long and safer way around. The way forward isn't readily apparent, but upon closer inspection, you might be able to see something through this bush here. Or if you go into a first-person view and look inside the bushes, you'll know this one at the far end is a hidden path. In this part, there aren't any guards to worry about, but you are instead met with the 3rd type of trap in the forest, pitfalls. Falling into one of these turns you into a blocky kebab, so keep your eyes peeled for any thin coverings on the ground. They're easy to spot since you can kind of see through them, but recklessly running through will, of course, mean you may fall to your death. But after crossing through this area safely, you'll see this big red brick building. Real easy to miss, I know. But seriously, we need to get to that platform over there to get to the extraction chopper. There's 2 ways of getting there. These windows at the far end are the only ways inside the building. Nothing else worth seeing inside the building for progression's sake, so let's keep going. Up the stairs, you might get blindsided by this guy here if you aren't careful. Going around to the other hall circumvents that problem entirely. After that, taking these stairs to the roof lets you see these 2 sentinels up ahead. Remember how piss poor their vision is though. That guard to the right is facing away from the edge, so it's just a matter of walking around him. Next, you can just jump across to the platform. Don't worry about missing the jump, you can always just return the way you came. Or, if you're savvier with trickier platforming, these rocks protruding from the wall allows you to skip that building section entirely. This last section features a seemingly impossible wall of soldiers to get through. However, you can investigate the vegetation like before and may come across this small ledge you can use to go right over these soldiers. Watch out, the barbed wire fence does minimal damage upon contact, but after dropping down to the bottom, you get to the end and complete your mission. Unlike the previous alt missions, this one is probably the most similar to its original counterpart. It's more or less the inverse of the path you took in Stealth Mission 3. Even the objective is an inverse of the original. Instead of escaping with enemy intel, you have to find it and steal it. Spoiler alert, it actually isn't a USB this time. So moving on from M3G4's mission briefing, you'll see a bush with vines coming down that weren't there in the previous mission. Maybe some time has passed since you were last here? Either way, taking negligible damage from the fence may be inevitable. But as there are no guards in this part, getting through is
super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really?
Our next move would be to get over to that higher ground over there. That rock formation shortcut from earlier won't work with the sniper on the building being able to spot you. One way over is to cross this makeshift wooden bridge onto the building. Try not to get caught by the guard behind these boxes though. From here, you can go behind him, avoiding the sniper, past this patroller, and into the building. You'll see the scout here constantly looking left and right. Remember, their vision is narrow, so you can actually run up behind them with decent timing. And waiting for him to turn again allows you to pass him and go downstairs. This is a longer way to get through this part, but if you make it down here, you can click on this box and get a glow stick. This will come in handy for those who have a hard time seeing. Getting out through the front door or windows is easy enough, but watch for the scout that goes back and forth in the front. Another way down is to simply jump down when you're on the building, or still on the grassy cliffside. You can skip the building part entirely by just going around the back or dropping down close to where the front is, provided the scout doesn't see you. You may, however, miss out on that glow stick, but after that part's over and done with, you can hop up these ledges and onto this area with a patroller and scout. The patroller doesn't really pose much of a problem if you just look where you're going. The scout, on the other hand, you're going to have to be a little bit quicker with. His path varies slightly, but he's still essentially just walking back and forth. Wait for an opening to pass through. Don't worry about traps this time, they're absent in this mission. Maybe it was a liability to the soldiers themselves. Anyway, once you're inside the bush-covered entryway, you can still be caught off guard by the scout that walks back and forth if you're just blindly walking through. After passing him, try not to be caught by the soldier in the bush. After reaching the top of this elevated part, watch the movement of that scout closely. He will eventually break his pattern and go look over downstream, which should give us an opportunity to cross the bridge. Once we make it over, there's this last scout to worry about. This rock protruding from the ground will come in handy for getting past this guy. The end of this path is protected by a patroller and a sniper up top for those who think the patroller is all you'll have to contend with. While it's possible to get through there, you can actually take a hard left into a rock opening, dropping down and reaching the end with no enemies in the way. Clearly you can see that this is the end, but the mission is only considered complete when you click on the box containing the classified document. Not really a whole lot to say about this arena with regards to Easter eggs. I will say though, I may have subconsciously paid homage to Metal Gear Solid 3's opening level, the Virtuous Mission, with the way you cross a wooden bridge over a river to coming up on a red-colored building near the end. The USB you carry around is 128 gigabytes. I reference the number 64 a lot, since it's my lucky number, and 128 is 64 multiplied by 2. The extra climbable vine from Alt Mission 3 also makes a return in the free roam version. It's a little sunnier in this version of the arena, and the traps are all gone too. Another fun thing you can do in free roam is actually stand on the dock down the stream. You get to see where the water goes beyond that point. Going in this dark tunnel teleports you near the ruined building. Another thing of note is that the document you procure at the end of Alt Mission 3 is an asset from a cancelled stealth game I made in 2015, featuring a mech I made in spring of that year, Mecha John. And since it's the last of the remade 2014 maps, here are some comparison shots from then to now. Personally, I think Mission 3 benefited the most from this makeover. The waterfall didn't even exist back then, nor did the small area near the ruined building. And lastly, let's talk about the hub area for Stealth Mission 3. Nothing to really interact with here, but if you move the camera around, you can actually hear the scaled down Huey's propeller spinning. The same goes for the water spilling out the side too. And that about covers all things Mission 3. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Don't forget that you can try the game out for yourself using the link in the description down below. I'll see you all next time. All hail the end.